I'm Shelby Conley. I've been practicing acupuncture for over 20 years, and I'm the owner of Five Elements Living Retreat Center in upstate New York. Each week, I'll take you on a journey from the heart of the city into rural hidden areas to discover various healing art centers and wellness experiences that will encourage you to live as well as possible. Let's shift your focus to see how these healing modalities are becoming the new medicine. Join me en route to the alternative. Hello and welcome to Five Elements Living TV. I'm Shelby Conley in the kitchen with Paula Umel, and today we're talking about bread, and specifically gluten-free bread. A lot of hype now is about gluten-free products, and it has to do with not only people's immune system, but it has to deal with their digestion. And we're going to talk about how not just gluten and gluten-free, but even gluten-free breads can bother you. So, Paula, if you can tell us what gluten is.
What gluten is? Gluten is a part of the grain. So if you were to take a whole grain and look at it, it's the endosperm part of the grain that is the carbohydrate. It's the part that feeds the germ of the seed when the germ of the seed is sprouting roots and shoots, and that's what feeds it to grow. And gluten is part of what is the glutinous protein part that's in the endosperm of the grain.
And it holds the bread together.
It does.
Gluten is glue.
Gluten, right. It's very glutinous, and so it's what makes the bread hold together, or whatever you're making with it. In traditional making of bread, the grain was first sprouted and then it was cultured, like we culture sauerkraut or yogurt.
Fermentation process.
To ferment it, right. And it would be fermented for 2-3 days before it was made into anything. We don't do that anymore. We make breads really very quickly. So
it used to be ancient breads were naturally gluten-free.
They were very, very low gluten because
gluten.
the gluten was sprouted and fermented out of it in the whole making of it process.
But for fast production and to get breads out into the market quickly,
we just take the whole grains or the refined grains, we grind them up into flour, we add quick acting yeast, and then we push hundreds of loaves of bread out into the market daily, hundreds, thousands.
And what is it doing to our digestive system?
Well, the problem with gluten is, and it does this to everybody,
Some people just have more signs.
Some people don't notice it or whatever, is that gluten releases zonulin in the digestive tract, which has this tearing there's one cell that thickness lining in our digestive tract, and so it's just kind of corrosive to that. And some people don't notice that. It heals very quickly when we're younger. As we get older and we're, doing damage to that interior lining of our gut.
Yeah, because some people have gluten for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They'll have a cereal or a toast, then they'll go and have a sandwich for lunch, and then they'll do some kind of pasta for dinner so that their digestive system doesn't get enough time to heal.
Right.
Okay, and so there's lots of symptoms. They can come either this way with reflux.
You can have problems with constipation, diarrhea, just gut irritation.
And bloating.
And bloating. Some people have no digestive tract symptoms at all, but then down the road they end up with autoimmune conditions because of that disruption in the gut integrity, allowing other food particles to get into your digestive tract, and then you've got these. It's called leaky gut syndrome. Gets a little bit much for some time. But you've got particles of other food that you've eaten moving through your bloodstream and they haven't been digested completely.
They can get skin rashes, joint pain. You think you have allergies to outside problems, but really it could be from what you're eating.
It's from what you're eating, and that's overloading your immune system. And then your body just gets overwrought with it. Your immune system doesn't know what to do anymore, and it attacks itself. So
some people will switch, and now you can buy even in any of the grocery stores gluten-free bread.
Yes.
But that isn't always wonderful either.
No. Most of our gluten-free products that are on the market, and you have to look and read labels carefully.
Just because it says gluten-free doesn't mean good for you.
Right, exactly, and that's what people think. They say gluten-free, that's for celiacs. So it's got to be good for me if it's good for celiacs. Well, gluten-free products, you have to read every single ingredient to make sure that they are a whole food ingredient. If they're not whole food, you shouldn't be eating them. Because they're mostly white rice flour, tapioca starch, potato starch, which it means it's the starchy components of tapioca root and potato root. It's not the whole tapioca or the whole potato. So it's very
processed.
refined, very processed. So you've got something that's gluten-free, so it's not going to cause that irritation to the gut lining. It's not going to cause the release of zonulin, but you've got this very refined product that raises your blood sugar.
Yes, because people will say, well, I find that even when I eat the gluten-free bread, I still don't feel very good.
Right, because you're raising blood sugar really quickly, and it's a diabetic nightmare. You're just overloading your system with very refined carbohydrates.
So people who really love their bread, what can they do? What is out on the market now? And I'm not about naming brands, but what should they look for on the label?
100% whole grains that are gluten-free. And you're going to be looking for things like brown rice, quinoa, I'm trying to think, a buckwheat is really nice.
And even a combination of those flours.
Absolutely, combinations are great. You just want to stay away from the starches and the white rice flours. And
even by look, like if you look at what white bread looks like and how just mealy it is, and yeah, I mean, it's got that nice soft texture, but it really, turns into glue. It's actually like Play-Doh. That's like a Play-Doh.
It is like Play-Doh.
Yes.
So that's the gluten part of it.
Now this bread here, this has quinoa in it, correct?
This bread here is quinoa, so it's 100% quinoa loaf. And this bread here is brown rice and raisin.
Oh, nice.
And
we toasted these. That's why they have the darker brown edges. They hold together better when they've been cooked in again.
And they're a long. Whenever you buy gluten-free bread, you have to toast it 2 or 3 times on high because they don't toast as quickly. So they're so toasted.
This gets burnt within less than a minute.
Right, if you toasted that, it'd be fried.
Right, but the quality is so much thicker and denser that it takes a little bit longer.
It takes longer for the toaster to dry it out and give it that toastiness that you're looking for in toast. So you can hear them. It's toast. So it's basically just whole grains, and that's gluten-free whole grains, let's put it that way, gluten-free whole grains. And so here we have some butter from pasture-raised cows. That's why you've got that beautiful yellow color.
Yes, and I like to put on the pink Himalayan
pink
sea salt on it.
Because
it looks
nice
good,
combination.
but it tastes good.
And it's salty butter on bread is amazing.
And we're going to talk at another episode about butter as well and the types of butter. That's always a good question for people is what types of butter. So that's in another episode. But if people ask in their grocery stores, they're usually pretty good about ordering bread for you, but you can also get it online as well. There are certain bread companies that specify that they are a more nutrient dense and whole grain product.
Right. And I can throw the name of this one out there if you'd like me
Well,
to.
we can also put a few names. We'll put that up on the website as well. And so people can find out more about gluten. I know that a lot of you have heard maybe some of the symptoms that we were talking about and that it might be you. And so where can they look up more about gluten on your website is?
PaulaUmel.rn.com.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
Join us next time as we meet new people, eat great food, and find holistic adventures. And for outtakes and extended viewing footage, or if you have a space that's unique to the health and wellness field that you'd like us to film, take a look at enrouteToTheAlternative.com.